Oh, here's Norman just on time. Hey,
Hi,
it's Thursday night at 7 o'clock, and This Is It.
Hello.
So, big apologies from Mitchell and Inessa, but this is the era of not feeling well and all sorts of things. So they are not feeling well tonight. So we wish them a big, speedy and full recovery to Inessa and Mitchell. Hopefully you're watching tonight, or you're sadly missed. But we have on the show tonight two wonderful special guests. We have Norman, who you probably remember from the Christmas New Year shows, and we have Anthony here, who's a first-time guest on the show, but I am so excited that Anthony's with us. A big treat for everybody tonight. As you know, we're getting bigger. The company's getting bigger, and we run it on a democratic way. Ooh, that kind of fits in with the theme for tonight, which is democracy. Is it the beginning of the end? Let's talk about that in about half a minute. So here we are. This is episode 11 of This Is It, the program which discusses social and current affairs, kind of being a little bit of controversial here and there. We're broadcasting on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube simultaneously. So you're very welcome to send in a comment or a question, or, you know, if you even want to come on the broadcast, you're welcome to apply to that, and we might even bring you on for discussion. So, Anthony, how are you doing?
Okay. You know, isolation's good. Looking after the wife and stuff. She's going through a cancer treatment. So, you know, just getting with it. You know, it's all in what I value. Direction's there. Simple as that. You know,
simple as that.
Got to be comfortable being uncomfortable at times. That's life, you know. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And you've learned well how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I know you're a bit of a mentor for me. Yeah. And we have another mentor of mine, Norman, on here, and as it happens, understands the road of cancer survival. And how are you doing, Norman?
Listen, I think I figured it out, Anthony. I don't want to, the key to my whole being.
Put it in a bowl. If you figured it out, put it in a bowl.
It's very simple. It's very, to me, it's almost. First of all, my cancer experience introduced me to the whole concept that there are angels. There's no doubt about that. I mean, but when I discovered, you wait your whole life for that moment for somebody to actually give you that kind of horrible news. And in many, many respects, I have great respect for you because it's harder to be a patient. It's harder to be a caregiver than it is a patient. I'm absolutely convinced of that because. Wow. And you have to be commended, but more importantly, you have to be given the secret. And the secret is gratitude. Constant, absolute, without qualification, gratitude. If you're grateful for every second of every minute of every day, regardless of the situation, regardless who's in power, regardless whether you're in prison, whatever, if you're grateful for that. Fortunately, I had that when I was told I had this horrible disease. I was grateful to be told, and that's so. I could have said, "Oh, that's terrible," and gone into a very, very dark place. But no, I was grateful to be told, and then I started seeking it. How am I going to fix this? How am I going to get the best people? and
it may not be able to be fixed, but it's
about
what
it's
about what's in. I think one of the things, to interrupt you, Norman, one of the things for me was it made me focus on what was important to me, especially when you've got the possibility of losing someone who's very important to you, your partner. I mean, we've been married 35
I want to jump in here.
Yeah.
I want to jump in here, guys, because I want to take what you're talking about, you know, having gratitude for what's important, having the possibility of losing something that's important. And I want to apply it to what we're going to discuss today. Yeah, because, you know, first of all, we have grown up in a democratic world, and not everybody in the world has that privilege. And we have grown up in a democratic world. And the question is basically how, you know, is this in danger? Are we in danger of losing that? Is this something that we have enough gratitude for, or maybe we're taking it for granted even? Now, yeah, go on, Anthony.
Well, what just shot into my mind that I noticed was, like, my wife's father, I mean, died 2 years ago at 91, and he was part of the team that liberated Belsen. But he also grew up in a real poverty part of Manchester, Ancoats in Manchester, where he joined the army because he got regular meals in that era. Do you know what I mean? And he was a fighting man in his spirit. Do you know what I mean? Because of the era they grew up in, it was horse and cart and cold and, you know, just real industrialised poverty. But everybody got on with it and everybody supported one another. So there's a democracy of neighbours and community. But like you sit here and go, what are you doing on them iPad things and the computers? You're making you soft. You've all got luxury problems today. You know, when you go, oh God, this is that, and the bills are coming, you're warm. So I suppose it's about perspective of what we value and what's important to us. If I lived out in the Serendipity somewhere or out in the wilderness in Canada, do you know what I mean? The main thing would be, have I got the winter and food? You know, that type of thing, and transport. So democracy can come many different levels in our society, in a, you know, a major industrialized city. Like we hand over the thinking and responsibility to a body of people that we elect in, and we trust them to be the guardians of it by our values. So we vote Republican, Democratic, Conservative, Labour, whatever our perspective is for us. But there's also democracies within cultures and our belief systems within family cultures. You know, I mean, mine was, you know, I had a Jewish father and a Catholic mother. Do you know what I mean? So there was constantly the dynamics of that. But the principles
the Romeo and Juliet syndrome there.
Say again?
It's like the Romeo and Juliet syndrome there, you know, all the different...
I don't know about Romeo and Juliet, but, you know... Cabbage and ribs saved your life, and my dad saying, as it eats its own shite, don't touch it. Do you know what I mean? And my mum going, take no notice of him. I remember him when he was younger. And I'm like, look, I just want to eat. Do you know what I mean? And the dynamics. And then my dad would be saying, you know, because obviously a democracy from his culture, because he married out the faith, did ignore him a bit in them days, you know. Quite, you know, and he took me to see my granddad and he just ripped his coat. I didn't know what it meant until years later. Do you know what I mean? And he said, well, that's my father saying I'm dead to him type of thing, which I thought was really weird. Do you know what I mean?
And that is quite harsh, isn't it? I mean, in the norms that we live today, talking about, you know, your grandfather said we're all soft today, but in the norms that we live today, that would be considered really harsh, isn't it? Getting kicked out of the community, getting kicked out of the family, you know, ripping and saying you're dead. That's quite a harsh thing. And maybe they were, tougher in those days. I was talking to Norman the other day about this subject, and we were saying, back in World War II time, right? And there's the Blitz and all that kind of stuff. Society was really knitted together. They really were helping each other. They really were knitted together. I'm really worried today. Yeah, but I'm really worried today that idea is even lost. I want to play you something that The Economist came out with, and I want to say that this was over a year ago. This is not a 2020 thing. This is already in 2019, and this is what they were talking about.
It began with large crowds, but now.
Sorry.
The 20th century's most successful political idea is under attack. Democracy is facing a crisis of confidence.
The quality of democracy is in decline.
A gap is growing between people and the political elites elected to represent them. Powerful interests have corrupted the ways people are governed.
It was very frustrating because people were dying.
And fledgling democracies are increasingly succumbing to the lure of autocracy.
Yani Tayyip Erdoğan güçlü bir lider. Biz de sonuna kadar arkasındayız.
But how deep is this crisis? And how worried should the world be?
So should we be worried?
Well, I think first of all, you have to go back to some fundamental issues here and roots, and ask the question: what is democracy? I mean, there's democracies of China. Korea has a democracy. I mean, democracy, its definition is what is democracy. First of all, if you ask anybody, you're going to get a different answer. It's like Gandhi, when he came to England, he was asked, what do you think of English civilization? He says, it'll be good if it happens.
Yeah.
Right? So democracy is something like that. So what is democracy? Democracy, some people's definition of democracy is majority rule. Now, is majority rule a favorable way of determining truth or justice? Or no, because we know that mob rule is a dangerous idea. So the majority rule, for instance, Hitler was voted in, you mentioned it, I think he had an 81% majority.
But prior to that, before fascism, he was like a communist. He was just saying yes to the people and pleasing the people and, like saying what they wanted to hear. And then when he got to a certain level, like Trotskyism, you know what I mean? Like Marxism, he come in like that, a people's person. And then when they got to the elevation of ultimate power, that's when he turned the screw,
I think that one of the, if that's the case, if the case is that we don't really know what it is, then don't you think that that's the first place we should be thinking about starting, is to educate the civilian? A civilian is civic, a citizen. The whole idea of citizenship is being redefined and reevaluated. So how do you educate now? And if it was a singular, when you're saying vote left or right, well, there's more than one flavor. I mean, you want bits of this guy, that guy.
If you look back in history, from Greeks, Romans, Moses, do you know what I mean? He had to get a set of laws. you know what I mean? To create a democracy. Don't worship the golden calf, split hoof. I've got to walk you round so you all get the sense. Do you know what I mean? Some of you will drop away. Do you know what I mean? I've just got to keep on walking until the promised land's there. Example. And the same with Christianity. They sent missionaries out to Aborigines. You know what I mean? And they said, oh, this is the story of Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? He's very wonderful. He's a loving person. And the Aborigines went, wow, what a great spiritual guy. And they went, yeah, but he's God. And their answer was, did he go to the toilet? And they went, yeah. So, well, our God is the one who's called you to the one who doesn't need to go to the toilet. And that's how simple their foundations of a democracy was based on for their belief system that had all of the traditions, rules, and rituals. You know, so we've evolved through these things that constantly change.
What I hear from you, Anthony, is that democracy is a belief. It's a belief system. It's a belief that would you agree with that, Dom? That it's a belief. You have a belief that you can't.
Part of a belief, but I suppose it's something that you value. You know, because you know people value fascism. Do you know what I mean? And it was their belief and faith to act it out. Do you know what I mean? People believed in Zen. You know, people believe in conspiracy theories. People believe in anything.
Correct. So
you know what I mean? Believe in faith in anything. People. I know people that believe in recovery movements. Do you know what I mean? And that football, there's another pseudo-religion. Do you know what I mean? Baseball. So it's about what you endear through influences, my belief now, through influences that come in that can mold your structure of understanding through things that happen in your life. You know, I mean, the cancer experience, you know, heard about it, knew about it until you actually experience it, how it impacts, then my whole belief changed the perspective on it. Not that I dismissed it before, but it has a different meaning, which gives me a stronger attraction and a belief to support the people that are going through these horrible treatments with horrible side effects. And do you know what I mean? Regardless of my wife. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, as you know, all three of us, when a bomb goes off and we're sat in the middle of Prestwich, darling, and we got this calling just to act on our beliefs. Now, we're a million miles away, you know, from a rabbi to a yacht. Do you know what I mean? Miles away, but what we had in common was we need to do something. And, you know.
So you're touching on something really important here, both of you. Yeah. With regards to your experiences, with regards to the lessons that we can learn from both of your experiences, is that one, well, Norman brought up democracy as a definition of majority rule. Anthony's bringing up the side of democracy that's more kind of a social structure, right? Ideology. Call it belief system if you want, but there's an ideology behind it as well as a political structure where Norman says majority rules. And then that last thing that you brought up, I find interesting, which is kind of that, you know, is it also part of that social fabric of shared values, right? Mm-hmm. That we, you know, what values are usually kind of associated with democracy are things like freedom of speech, being able to do what we are doing now, having a discussion, not only privately, but we're having a discussion publicly. We're potentially thousands and hundreds of thousands. And if you want to take, you know, what YouTube and other social media, Facebook can offer, then we're talking about potentially billions of people listening to our little conversation here. So there's the freedom of speech. There's the, you know, the rule of law. You know, if somebody does something that we've all agreed through our representative lawmakers that this is this kind of society that we want, and if somebody breaks that, well, then there's a certain price to be paid for breaking that law. So these are kind of the things that are common values. The right to believe in something or the right not to believe in something, to have a religion, not have a religion. being able to debate in the public square what you're allowed to do when you're outside. So, we're kind of defining democracy among the three of us here. That's kind of, but is that fragile?
Let's go back to your clip, the clip you just showed.
Yeah.
Right? Because regardless of what our opinion is and who we are and what stages of our life are and what our opinion, at the end of the day, the world has changed. Every generation has been able to say there's never been a generation like this, there's never been a time like this, never been a time. But, this is it. There has never been a time like this where the individual empowerment or the perspective of that individual empowerment, that we have a voice, that we are free. We are free to send out a tweet. We are free to go on and express ourselves. Now, thank God that we are doing it for the so-called power of the benefit of ourselves and our families and our friends. And it's a notion of benevolence and charity and hope and faith and goodwill and recovery and these things. We want to help each other. I want to help Anthony with his wife already. I'm saying, how can I send you something? That's a natural human emotion. But what this time has that is differentiated from everywhere else is there are more than one form of government in play. If government is an appointed body by the people to represent us, and then
the collective.
In the collective, and it's broken into little communities, little villages, provinces or states or whatever governances, all divided up. And this collective has another level, and that is called the media. Because now we're being communicated the opinion of
our drip-fed their opinions, yeah,
and reflecting our opinion. Now, what I've noticed, and then you have social media, so you have these other huge government constituencies. So, when you have customers, you have constituents. You have as a consumer, you have a responsibility to pay the price of the object that you buy, that you covet. The company has the obligation to make sure that it's the right vaccine going in the right product, the right drug company you're going to get. You have to have the faith, you have to have the belief that that's the right thing for you. There's a lot of challenges for the human being today that have been amplified, and being amplified even more because we're now all in our little space capsule here. We're all isolated from the rest of the world, but we've never had the opportunity to be together. So it's a real paradox going on, and it's a real paradigm shift. And it's like,
but isn't it great?
And it's brilliant.
Yeah. But
I don't think we can talk.
The spin-off, sorry. The spin-off that is information, yeah. I could go now on a computer, get on Google and find out any topic. I could go on YouTube and look at, I don't know how to repair an engine to put up a ceiling light. It's out there, some basis of that information I'm searching. And it's how that moral compass is interpreted. Do you know what I mean? Because the influences now are coming through the square living picture, whereas before it'd be community, family as well. I mean, you've got an extra. I'm just thinking of my own son. Do you know what I mean? He's like, he had this game thing going on, and it influenced him. And I thought, no, you get an hour a day, and you go outside and you fall over and you climb walls. But you've got to go and fall over. Do you know what I mean? And then the wife going, oh, but this is what the kids do today. And I went, great, I'm not stopping him from doing it. But this is what kids do in the world. Otherwise, you're going to be a child in a bubble. They won't have that social interaction of being called a name and getting over it, facing a bully standing up to challenges or reacting to it, whatever way you evolve with it. And it's, you know, we don't learn things by getting it right all the time. Babies learn to stand up and fall over to walk.
I want to pick you up on that because you kind of hinted on it with the bullying and the way that people are interacting, and maybe we've lost that communication of how to interact. Humans,
the idea of debate, you know, the
idea of debate. The idea of that's how you solve things is by talking and not by. And humans are very symbolic. Things of symbols are really important to human beings. And when these symbols are violated, it means something, or does it? And so I want to address the elephant in the room that we haven't mentioned yet, which, you know, in itself is quite incredible in the Western world. Unless you're talking about, you know, some fringe democracies, which we could probably name a few. But let me just take you there and remind you what happened yesterday.
It began with large crowds, but now and then escalated to this assault on the Capitol. And now, Eamon, we have new video.
Yeah, that's right, Shep. These pro-Trump loyalists have stormed the Senate floor now. And Frank Thorpe, who is the NBC News Capitol Hill reporter, has just tweeted out this video, which you can see now, of protesters on the floor milling about. At least one of those protesters wearing a Trump flag as a cape. You can see another one appears to be unloading a suitcase or duffel bag of some sort. And the protesters, at the point that video was taken, he just tweeted that out a few moments ago, appear to have total and unrestricted control of the Senate floor. I don't see any Capitol Police presence there at all on the U.S. Senate floor as we watch those protesters sort of milling about without really seeming to have any sense of what they're going to do once they got there. But the concern among many here, in addition to the symbolism, is going to be who got onto the Senate floor, what did they bring with them. This is a very controlled security environment where everybody who comes in has to go through metal detectors, have their bags checked and everything else. All of these bags now have been brought into the Capitol complex. It's not clear by whom, with what intent, what was brought into the Capitol, where all those people are right now. This is an enormous security nightmare.
Okay, so, I mean, apart from the security nightmare, which I think is the trivial part of the whole thing, is the symbolism of and he even mentioned it at the beginning, the assault on the Capitol. It's not the assault on the government. It was assault on that symbol of democracy, which is the American, almost a holy place for them, which would be in any country where the parliament sits.
Democracy Mecca to them, yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, it's like somebody storming the Houses of Parliament in this country. You know, what shows up for you guys when, you know, forget the Trump and Biden story for a minute, just the fact that protesters, whoever they are, have stormed a government building in a democracy. What shows up?
Am I right talking? Because I feel as though I've dominated the conversation.
No, you talk. If you could just adjust your camera a little bit so we get a little bit more than your head, would be good.
Why not? What's up with me?
That ripped body of yours, we gotta see it.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think what I take from it is voices that are not heard after requesting to be heard, regardless of, you know, narcissistic influences, egos, political gain parties. I hear people that are being divided on both sides and then influenced by tech, this new commerce, media, for their likes, their clickbait, Facebook. You know, people need to see likes, and it's like giving a dog a treat. 20 likes, 30 likes, 40 likes, got so many subscribers. I'm popular. And if you look at even boxing culture, you know, you can become a boxer boxer by starting off on YouTube and get 20 million followers, then you're a commodity, and then you can go and have a fight with someone in a box. Yet the kid who's tread the boards in the gym, wanting to be Muhammad Ali, do you know what I mean? He's second in the queue because he's not that commerce savvy. So there's inequalities, and people, there's a generation that don't know about technology, and there's, since when have our children, you know, in the scheme of time, been actually teaching us the new industry, whereas it used to be, my mum and dad will show me how to do that, boss will, I'm an apprentice, you know, that kind of structure has been, it's out the window now, because there's a generation that have jumped an ecological leap with technology, and these hubs that are getting vast amounts of control and money, and it's, well, they're actually tweaking and influencing for their market. You know, I'm sure it was the same. The steam train in Manchester was invented. It was the devil's disciple, and machines will take over the world.
Are you saying that these people that stormed the Capitol are disconnected from the elite?
I'm saying they're not heard. Yeah,
and that's a way, and that's the way
that
they're
being influenced by media, and then other people will influence. Say again.
I'm inclined to think that because listen, it's all about intent, and you know, and when people, I know when I go out my walks and so on, I'm taking pictures, I'm taking selfies. It's about people are disenfranchised. People have never been so marginalized and are invisible that, you know, and now we're being put into masks. So now nobody's got a face anymore. So I mean,
they live behind images.
And now we're all, and people, the whole Kardashian idea, the whole idea of reality TV. This is reality TV. Everybody, Andy Warhol said in the 15 minutes of fame. That's all been, you know, encapsulated. And now it's 5 seconds to skip this ad. Now, as an ad guy, it costs tens of thousands, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to create that one ad, and it's gone forever. So TikTok, you know, is made up of, you know, 10-second clips. The attention span of that music, you know, there's no.
It's just, you know, they know, and they've got algorithms that can look at your behaviour.
Yeah, but I'm saying that. Let's think about
manipulated. Are we being controlled?
Yeah, but the people that went in, let's look at the people in that Senate. Now, let's if their intention, they were speculating, whoever was doing that report was speculating that they're opening up bags. What are they taking out? Are they taking out machine guns? In another scenario, in France, that's what they did. They opened up and they shot in the theaters and they hijacked. In Mumbai, they did that. No, this was a bunch, as Anthony says, a bunch of people who are being trapped for 9 months, who have been watching their hero, their
voice at the time, but he's probably gone for lockdown.
They just left a big rally of tens of thousands of people of all of the same mind. They came over, and their intent was, I think they were shocked that they actually got in. You know, what I think,
might be staged as well.
I think it's allowed to do that by opposition. I think it's a real.
Going back to Hitler.
I'm surprised that they got. I must say, I'm surprised that they got in.
To me, a spin to that, they were set up. How did they get in? I mean, why would they even get in?
The question has to be asked. I don't know the answer, but the question has to be asked. That was great for that looked good for both sides that they got in, right? Because one side could say we got in, and the other side could say, look what they were doing. There was certainly, I would be shocked, and the heads should roll.
No, for sure.
Just one person gets into the US government building, but a whole crowd. That should never happen.
Walking in with cameras and the selfie, they were like tour. It was
and
like
the guy said it at the end of that.
It's our house. It's our house, and we don't want the election stolen. Do you know what I mean? They were voicing themselves in a democratic archetype of expression. And they were letting the people that were going to influence the outcome, they said, we want to be heard. Now, they didn't do what Antifa did and loot and all that. Do you know what I mean? They broke windows to get in. Yeah, like that. Yeah. They felt not heard.
Never have been let in. They should never have been.
Unfortunately, people got killed.
But it wasn't good.
Let's rewind.
People got killed. People got killed and people got arrested. And you have to admit, we all have to admit they broke the law by doing what they were doing. But at the end of the day, I still find it questionable that they got to as far as they got. That just is an open question for me.
It could be divide and rule. You know what I mean? Let's make that side do that side and this side do that side. And we're in the middle and we'll shift. Because it happened in history. Hitler did the same thing. Do you know what I mean? And there's a big explosion at the Houses of Parliament and it shot him into power. Do you know what I mean? The people believed. And
that
then,
was
though,
but I don't honestly think, I'm trying to envisage it. It's like a big football match, right? We've been in that. You know all about that. The mob is there, the crowd is there. You got a sea of people in a crowd like that, and you try and swim upstream in that with the wrong colours on.
Celtic and Rangers.
You're in big trouble. So here they know that there's a big game on around the corner. They know that people are going to get provoked and they're going to get. They know that the guy's saying go and be peaceful and go up into the lawn. Not for a second did Donald Trump expect them to do that. If the barriers should have been way back from that, or they should never have been able to climb on the scaffold. They should never have been anywhere else. If I was in security, I'd fired a lot of them. They were all gone. All these poor guys with their wee sticks,
Well, maybe they didn't want to do it.
Well, that's my point. And my point is that it was the whole thing was political. The whole thing for the past 4 years has been political. Whether left or right, doesn't matter, but the whole agenda has been political to herd and to win the election, to be able to take control of the narrative, the conversation. But when you listen to, when you hear the narrative of it's almost gleeful from some media.
Well, I can't understand it. A major influence on the world of democracy. When they highlight something could be wrong with the election, not one of the states said, let's investigate it. Investigate it and say, you know what? You're all copper shite. There's nothing wrong. But they didn't let the investigation happen. So that breeds, why not? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why not? What's wrong then? So then the conspiracy heads grow.
Let's not get buried in the detail of that, because the wider, it's very tempting, of course, and we're just coming to the end now. But I mean, we're seeing similar kind of. That's what happened in America. That's the freshest thing. But also, we're seeing different kind of Lord Sumpton, who's our ex-Supreme Court judge in England, talks about how in England during the whole last 2020 Corona business, that how people's personal rights are being infringed, how freedom is being infringed. There's all that going on as well in the world. There's what we saw in the clip earlier in Turkey,
which is Kindle to fuel anything at the moment. You know what I mean?
and even Turkey.
Chinese grabbing democracy out of Hong Kong. People who speak up.
Democracy out of Hong Kong.
Alibaba has been on the missing list for 2 weeks.
So,
Where's he gone?
I bet your title
turning into a dictatorship. So go on, Norman.
Instead of is this the beginning of the end as a title for the part 2, is democracy under attack? Is it being challenged? Is the concept of democracy
is it evolving?
Danger? Or is it evolving into something different than it was because of the vagaries of the new media and the social media and the new empowerment of the individual?
There's a generation with their own culture that's different to our generation. You know, it's not a lot in years, but they've got a whole new culture. Do you know what I mean? Walk around with a phone and it can put things on the street that are not there. But for them, augmented reality. Do you know what I mean? So there's all these influences that we wouldn't have even dreamt of as a kid. You know, if you got a lucky bag, do you know what I mean? And a treat for running to the shop with someone, it was £1 million, you know. That's our kind of my history anyway, you know, like that.
And that's another conversation about the whole fake news, what's real from what is not. And what
gentlemen.
But you used to say, don't believe me, I'm the biggest liar you'll ever meet, check it. Yeah? So they used to say, belief, faith, and knowing. Belief and faith are stepping stones to knowing. Yeah? And you can have exception. And he used to say, I have belief and faith. In my pocket, I've got a key, and it's to a silver Rolls Royce that's parked outside the house. Oh, no, it's gleaming. But every time I go to start it up, it disappears. So stop living with your head up your space. That's what he used to say to me. Do you know what I mean? Don't have dreams of grandeur. Go and graft it. Go and get it. Save up for it. Put it away. Don't smoke. If you smoke, I'm not buying you any clothes. These are all influences, but the world influences our culture today. Not just our.
Anthony, we've got to write the book of your father's teachings. They're absolutely amazing.
Oh, you don't.
I think it would be a bestseller.
Diamond money. No, you don't want it.
Gentlemen, we've discussed culture, beliefs, freedoms. Is it under attack? Is it the beginning of the end? Freedom of the press, freedom of speech. There are so many elements that are up in the air, whether it's a generation gap, whether it's a technology gap, whether people are not being heard. We didn't get to many things like the cancellation culture, like all sorts of, negative
bureaucracy. Just to get a vaccine, we need a 20-page, and what happened in, in the world?
There's so much.
You got a job, typhoid, whack.
Yeah, there's so much.
Here's another point. I'm sorry to override you, though, but I'm on one now. I'm little.
Where have you been?
The father-in-law, when he liberated Belsen, he was giving them chocolate and jam. They were overeating, but a lot committed suicide because they were so used to the regime they were living under, and they were scared of what was given to them because they thought it was some big con. Something really bad was going to happen to them. Yeah. And that's always stuck in my mind. Do you know what I mean?
think
you're getting a kindness and it's so fearful because you've lived under that compartmentalism.
Yeah. I think it's relevant because there's a lot of people that are running scared today because they're not getting
where the media influence, the internet can get people living in fear and create an alternative democracy.
Yeah. Gentlemen, we're going to have to stop there.
Sorry,
it's been
absolutely
thrilling. Oh, sorry, no, it's been amazing. I think we might even might have to revisit. We might have to revisit this.
I didn't mean it.
So let's have a last one round of your closing comments and keep them short if you can, Norman.
Judge Brandes said that, or Disraeli said, in faith and hope we will disagree, but all mankind's concern is charity. When are we going to wake up to the fact that all we have to do is a few mitzvahs around and be nice to each other and stuff? And what happened to the whole nature of having a discussion with your family? You can't speak to anybody anymore because of debate. You can't take a position anymore because people are so vested in it and they're so angry. Cut all of that out, chill out, get back to my original point, which let's be grateful that we're alive. And you look great, Anthony. I don't know, I've never seen you the first time in your life, but I'm telling you, the energy that comes from you is amazing. I thank Dob for all of the work he's been doing over the past number of years, and I've had the privilege of being with him. And just let's continue trying to mold a better idea about how we behave and how we think. And everybody's great, and the whole world is great. They just don't know it. They think they're less than great. But
wonderful.
Thanks.
Anthony, yeah.
I think as a whole, behaviourally, we all look for symptom relief. Yeah. Because we're not used to feeling uncomfortable and falling over scenario, being able to pick ourselves up. I think it's one of my dad's sayings again. If a man comes to you with nothing, tell him to throw it away, it's no good for him. Get off your ass. It's about working towards what you value and going towards it. Sometimes it's uphill and it's hard and it's windy. Do you know what I mean? But check things. Learn to check.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Because I used to stand on the market and there'd be pictures and, do you know what I mean? There'd be wheeling and dealing and like that. And, the old guys would go, oh, it's all smoke and mirrors, that, because the magicians of the day were the Chinese and they'd use smokes and mirrors to do an illusion. Do you know what I mean? So the comment was like, be careful he's not doing your smokes and mirrors when, you're buying something, or, do you know what I mean? It was like a little toad in the air. I'm buying something, off another trader and I've got 20 of these, I can lace them up on you and we'll do a deal. You know what I mean? And my old fella be whispering in my ear, make sure they're not smoking mirrors. Do you know what I mean? And little influences like that. And that said to me, check. Screw off. Do the creases fall out? Is it schmatty? And these are the influences that. And my mother's got it. I'll talk about my mother, but you won't believe with the Irish culture. Do you know what I mean? Stand and fight. My God. She was called Esther, my man. Do you know what I mean? And she was worse than Dorothea, fighting Irish woman. Do you know what I mean? Army boxing. You know what I mean?
We'll do a program on that. Okay. We're definitely going to do that.
I'm on one.
I just want to sum up that I've learned from you two tonight tons connected to what we were talking about, and one of them is, if you value it, and if we really do value democracy, if we value freedom, if we value debate, if we value being able to freely put our opinion across without being cut off from our family and friends, then we need to be grateful for what we have. We need to understand that we are living a free life. And if we're not going to look after it, it can slip away. And therefore, we should all be vigilant, I think, of that, and not be passive when it comes to things that are of value for us. We have to get up, as you said, Anthony, and do something. Be active.
I'm grateful we've got an health service that doesn't strip you out when you get ill.
Absolutely.
Wow. So
we need to know, and we need to know that these are things of freedom of life. Being able, freedom to work, freedom to to speak, freedom to be with your family if you want to. There's people in countries that are being separated from their families. They're being taken away. They're being put in detention centers. Goodness knows what. We need to value. Bills. You can't afford medical bills. All sorts of things. So if we want, and we really want to keep that freedom of life, we need to value it and look after it. Thanks very much, guys. It's been a brilliant night.
Yeah. No matter how thin you slice bacon, my mum's saying it's always got two sides.
Yeah.
That's what I'll leave it with.
When you
Take care, guys.
When you slice what?
Bacon. Some dreck. No matter how thin you slice dreck, it's got two sides.
Take care, guys. Good night.
You as well. Stay safe. Thanks, Al. Thanks.